Hi guys, so here's yet another follow-up of a follow-up. So we installed ArchLabs in the previous video, and right now we'll be taking a look at the customization of ArchLabs. So this is how ArchLabs will look by default. So you'll have the Polybar here at the top, you'll have the default wallpaper, and then the Conkey here. So let's change a couple things up first. So I have two windows open. So first, what we'll be taking a look at is something simple, I'd say. Let's take a look at the wallpaper. So here I just searched some minimalistic wallpapers, and also my cursor is bigger than usual because I changed it up for the sake of the video so that everything is simple to see. So you know, there's some decent wallpapers here, but I'll just choose the most colorful one. So let's save the image and downloads. Oh, and by the way, speaking of ArchLabs, this has the fastest boot time I've ever seen. I mean, it's crazy here. Like, it took probably 10 seconds. I mean, I know I'm on an SSD, but still, it's crazy. So okay, so let's apply the wallpaper. So you right click on the desktop, and then let's see where it was, preferences, and then wallpaper background. Okay, so now I think you go to preferences and you click add. Okay, so we'll go to downloads, select the image, and there it is. Okay, so this is nice to kind of give it a more lively look. Also, what's nice is so if you press the super key or Windows key and go ahead and type in, let's see, what was it, Ranger, there we go. So this is a pretty cool way of viewing your files and whatnot. So if we scroll down here to downloads and press the right arrow key, press the right arrow key twice. So if you want to go into a folder, you press the right arrow key. If you want to go out of a folder, like back, you press the left arrow key. So for some reason it doesn't want to display the image, but nonetheless, that's a cool way, you know, that through the terminal, you know, you can take a look at your files and folders and you can access them. So here are two things now that we've changed the wallpaper, which I think is the easiest thing to do, you know, so it's a must. But the first two things you want to do is enter these commands. So the first one is sudo pacman-sy and then Conky-manager. So we do already have Conkey, but installing Conky Manager, and I already did this for the sake of the video to make it faster, is because if you right click and then go to preferences and then you go to Conkey and then Conkey chooser, you'll see that there's only one Conkey theme available, and this is the default one. So that's why when you do this, and when we search for it, Conkey, and then we get Conky Manager, as you see, not only do you get an easier way, like everything's in one spot, as opposed to here everything is like in separate windows. Not only do you get an easy place where you can view all your themes, but it does come with a decent amount of themes pre-installed. And I think if you want to install extra themes, you have to download the file, then extract it, then you have to move it, I think, to your home folder, and you have to rename it to, let's see what it was called. I think Conky RC. I think that's what it has to be. Conky RC or dot Conky RC, and that'll make it the default Conky, and it should appear. So yes, but I think if .conkeyrc doesn't work in this case, because the default one is called ArchLabs .conkeyrc, if you rename it to exactly this, then it should override this theme, or so at least I think. I haven't tried it myself. But before I get more into the Conkeys, the second one I want you to get is, well, actually, never mind. I used to think that you should get dconf editor, and basically, I mean, this is good to have anyway. But through this, you know, it's gonna give you a prompt. You know, you gotta promise that you're careful and whatnot. But here, you can edit a lot of settings and whatnot. But essentially, the reason I wanted to try this out, and that's why I installed it myself, is to add the minimize button. So if you haven't noticed, ArchLabs comes by default with only the maximize button and the close button, but not a minimize button. And honestly, this can get pretty annoying, especially if you're used to having a minimize button. So I did find a way to finally get it. And so it's not through the dconf editor. Again, if you want to install it, you could. But what you have to do is right click, then preferences, open box, and then you go to the rc.xml. And so, yeah, you're going to have to edit this line. Let's see. I can't really see that. So line 23 from here, or you could just do Control F and then, you know, type in title layout. But I mean, it's in the beginning, so just go to line 23, and then you're going to see this. And so right here it says NLIMC. So these stand for the title bar, like buttons. So this is M is maximized, then it's close, then N is probably the icon here, and L is probably the title. But what I stands for maximize. So what it is by default is LN or NLMC. So you just add an I and then just click Control S to save it. So you just save it, and once it's saved, you can right click and then preferences, open box, and go ahead and click open box restart. And so what this is going to do is just going to restart the open box session, and it's going to go from having just these two buttons to having the minimize button as well. So that's that. Next up, here are the Conkeys. Just going to showcase them real quick. Also, if you wanna remove the default Conkey, what you can do is you can go to preferences, Conkey chooser, and then just deselect it. Click OK. Click yes. Okay, and then we can load up new Conkeys. I forgot how to move. Okay, Control. So you press Control, you hold Control, and then you drag it with your mouse. Okay. So we got one for time. Looks pretty much like the same one. And again, these are probably kind of buggy because toggling new Conkeys on and off so quickly. That's why I mean I disabled all of these, but see how it's like kind of glitched up. Conkey tends to be like that. So yeah, these are your primary Conkeys. So I think that this looks nice, definitely. You can also minimize and maximize it. So these are the ones that come with the Conky Manager, and of course you have the default one. Again, what I mentioned earlier is all I can think of how to install new Conkeys, because again, I haven't tried it myself, so but you can work with these ones if you want. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is the default theme that we have, and it's pretty nice also how the terminal comes with the screen fetch by default, which is nice, so you don't have to do that separately. So let's go to system, or no, preferences, open box, and then settings. And then from the settings, you can change here the theme. So we'll be using this, and also let's search for appearance. It's right here. Okay, so here by default you have multiple themes, and so these are all of the themes that are pre-installed. I'm pretty sure you probably know how to install a theme manually. I did a video on this prior, and I explained how to install cursor theme, or just icon themes, just themes in general. So but if you want to know how, should I remind you, just ask a comment, and I'll try to help. So yeah, so this is the default one. There's some interesting themes. I'll probably just go with this one. And again, I mean, at this point, everything is up to you. You can change things how you want. And again, like I said, you can install these type of themes on yourself, or by yourself, my bad. So these are also the default icons. I think that the default one is the best. So the difference between this one is it makes certain icons just kind of darker, but it's harder to see. Fonts, this is why I kept the Firefox window open. As you can see, the font does look kind of off in my opinion. So, oops. Let's see here. So what I would personally choose is, I think Ubuntu is fine. Just if you do it regular, click OK. And make sure anti-aliasing is enabled, put it to its fullest. I don't know, I'm just experimenting here myself. But I do think that the font is a bit yeah, that didn't really help. The default font is for some reason kind of weird. Again, I mean, I almost never experiment with fonts, so I wouldn't really know much about it, but you can experiment with fonts if you want. Okay, so I can close this off now. So yeah, I mean, again, like like these themes, it's a matter of just clicking apply and clicking on the one that you like. So it's a matter of just looking them up online and installing them and putting them in the themes or icons folder and seeing what you like best. Also, let me see real quick, like mouse. Yeah, so there's only one default mouse. So again, you gotta install the icons, like icon themes and themes in order to change them. So okay, we have our desktop set up. We have some Conkeys here. We fixed the title bar issue, and well, at least I consider it an issue, to be able to minimize it. I mean, the whole idea of the minimize button not being here is utilizing different workspaces, but it's still a nice option to have. Terminal looks nice. You have a nice way to access your files here. Okay, so this is a process viewer. HTOP. Okay. Well, let's get this removed. Okay, so what might be left? Well, we can edit the default polybar. So in my previous video, I made a video about tint 2, and I've talked about it a lot. So if you want, you can watch those videos. But you might be thinking, well, there's not really much to edit for the Polybar, right? Well, you can edit a decent amount with it as well. So go to Preferences, Polybar, Edit Configs, and then click on Master initially. So here you are presented with a bunch of options. So this isn't like your typical settings where you just drag like a bar or a horizontal bar to adjust the size. Here you kind of have to edit the values yourself. So for example, if you want the bar to be a bit wider, you can change the value, then click Control S, and you won't see it change right away. So you have to go to Preferences, Polybar 2, and you have to restart it. So as you can see, that changed. Border top size is here. It's the white border here. If you find that annoying, if you don't like that, you can just remove it just like so. And also that removes the workspaces, which you can actually remove the workspaces from a different area. But I personally don't really like using workspaces. I personally don't really utilize them. This deals with the horizontal length. Bottom, I'm assuming this is if you want your panel to be at the bottom. I'm not sure if it lets it be at the left and right side though. And so you can change the font here. You can also change the color. So colors.background. Let's see. So here are the colors. I forgot what these values are called, but I'm pretty sure that you can take a look online and type in, like, try to find what the value is. So let's say you want the bar to be like blue or like green or something like that. You can type in like what the value of green is, or I'm sure it's going to give you a color like circle, and you can like choose which exact color you want, and it's going to give you the value. So again, if you want to change that, you could just remove this and paste it here. And actually, let's just try this out. So it says blue here. So let's see if it's going to make the panel blue. So I haven't really tried this myself. So, yep, that's how it works. So, but I'm going to go back to the previous color. Okay, just wanted to. Okay, because this one's better. So as you can see, these came back here. And again, you can remove them for sure. Foreground, let's see, foreground is either for this kind of light grayish color or the blue color. So you know, you kind of have to experiment a little bit. So I'd say these are the kind of main settings, you know, just messing around with the border, the height, and the colors and whatnot. So if we go back to Polybar and we edit, if we edit the last one, let's see here. So you have different options here, but the one that's going to apply to us is this one, the open box bar. So yes, I think I did click actually the wrong one. Let's go back, Polybar, edit configs, and the middle one, modules. Oops. So this is it can edit the icons that you see at the top. It has a ton of icons here, but it's kind of weird because I remember editing this. Let's see, edit count. I remember it was the last one it worked. Oh yeah, I'm not sure how I didn't notice that. So this deals with the icons here, and as you saw in the middle config, you can take a look at the icons and edit them yourself. But I don't know all the syntax here. I'm not sure if it gives you all the syntax, but essentially this right here has to do with the system tray. At the center is the clock, and then here you have the menu and the workspaces. So if you want to remove the workspaces, now you can do, there's two options. You can either, like for example, if you want to comment something out, you could just add a semicolon and then copy and paste this and rewrite it just in case you make a mistake, or you could just remove it. But if you do remove it, then you might forget what you removed later on. So that's why I would recommend commenting it out. So restart that, and as you can see, you don't have the workspaces anymore. For the clock, if you don't like the clock in the middle, for example, you can go here and set it to the right, save, and then let's restart that. And as you can see, the clock is right here and it functions just how it should. So yeah, so this last config has to deal with just the icons and the actual items on your Polybar. And then the middle one, I would say it kind of gets more technical if you want to add like custom icons or whatever to the Polybar. But again, I haven't experimented enough with it to actually give you a tutorial on that, so I guess I gave you some insight on it, so I guess it's up to you to kind of explore it a bit more. So as a whole, I'd say that's about it. We managed to add the minimize button, play around with the title bar, play around with the themes and the icons and whatnot. Again, we're just playing around with the ones given to us, but you can install ones manually. We were able to set the wallpaper to something more interesting, get some new Conkeys for our system, and play around with the Polybar, kind of clean things up, remove the workspaces, move the clock to the right, something that I'm personally more familiar with, and kind of give you a quick look into how to change these type of stuff. So again, with OpenBox, it's more like this. You kind of have to change things that are behind the screen instead of having a user interface, which makes it a lot easier and changes the values for you behind the screen. But yeah, that was pretty much it. If you have any questions or requests or anything like that, make sure to leave a comment. This really has become something like a series, which is pretty interesting, but I'm starting to really like ArchLabs myself. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.